Overall, it's been quite a day for Brazilian CS. On the other side of the world, we had Furia making a come-from-behind reverse sweep in a best-of-5 versus Na'Vi to win the Thunderpick World Championships, and here, the focus of this video, Legacy legged it out in a 5-map series with 3D to take a shocking win at the CS Asia Championships. It's the second LAN win ever for players like Dumao and Lotto, and for everybody else, it's their first bit of hardware on their career records. A series that 3D will look back on and really think they should have taken it for themselves, but at the end of the day, Legacy came in playing better over a wider variety of maps, and that's why they walk away with the first place prize. So let's break down the grand finals and see what we can take away. If you guys have enjoyed this coverage of the CS Asia Championships, you can show me by leaving a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel already, help me take us by the end of the year, and lastly, let's go ahead and thank today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by SkinsMonkey, a CS2 trading website. You put in the skins that you want to trade, you select what you want, you use my code LionHeartZ for up to $5 off, or click the top link in the description, and boom, new drip.
Nice.
You can also use my code for a 35% deposit bonus if you want to buy with real money. And they have a free section with cool giveaways. So check the top link in the description, use my code to buy 15 Dragon Lores to let them know I sent you their way, and thank you to SkinsMonkey for sponsoring this video. I think that 3D are going to look at exactly 2 moments in this series and realize they let this one slip away. Because if they had just played the first map of Nuke more awake, they would have swept the series. The veto was such that the first 3 maps were Nuke, Dust 2, and Inferno, aka 3D 3 best maps. And in the back half we had Train and Ancient, which as we covered yesterday when talking about Team Liquid, are not 3D best maps, and where they are significantly more vulnerable. And as we'll go over more in just a little bit, 3D won Dust 2 and Inferno, which means if they had won on Nuke, the series would have been over there, a 3-0 victory for them. Instead, this first map was a total sleeper. Legacy jump out to a dominant 13-6 win. A totally anemic starting T-side from 3D where they only won 2 rounds. The most kills they got in the first half was Maka with 6. Meanwhile, it could not have been more cruise control for Legacy. Lux and Lotto led the way with 21 and 17 kills respectively. Neeson not that far behind at 14. I don't really know what to say. This is just one of those times where 3D were completely asleep. There was no punch. The coordination was really what you would expect, but there was no execution behind it. They couldn't hit any shots. Body couldn't entry in the way you would expect of him. Probably the worst part was both times that 3D would win a round in this first half, they would immediately lose the follow-up. They couldn't string 2 rounds together to save their lives, even when things looked like they were trying to turn the corner. Like here, it's round 7. 3D are taking a nice full buy into everything. They don't really have an op on Maka yet, but that's fine, we'll make it work. They decide to play slow outside control. Maka on top of Marshmallow gets a nice 1-tap onto Lux, giving them the opening pick. They slowly take Secret, they take B-side control, they get the bomb down, they wipe the floor with Legacy, all 5 alive going into the very next round. And they more or less run the same strategy. They're going to take that slow outside control, get down to Secret. This time, Legacy just respond faster. Even when Body gets the first pick, the rotates down through the vent are more effective, and Dumao and Lotto combine for 3 kills apiece, and Lux on the rotate into ramp caps off Lucky, leaving Exercise in a 1v3, and frankly he navigates very well and damn near wins it after getting back onto the upper bomb side, but just gets spoiled on the final kill. And this vibe of playing spoiler is what Legacy would maintain throughout the rest of the map. Moving into Dust 2, frankly, this is one of the few times where Legacy really let off the gas in the series, as honestly, they could have walked away with a 2-0 lead of their own if they had maintained their first map momentum. Frankly, they left the door wide open for 3D to manufacture a comeback in the second half, and it kinda all boils down to one player, which is unfortunate because rarely do you have it be so black and white like that. And the unfortunate soul happens to be Sadzin, and really it was his work with the op in the second half that just left so many openings on the table. It's bad. Dust pointed this out on the desk, but he couldn't hit a shot to save his fucking life. And at first I thought Dust was just kinda, playing it up for a bit, but no, I went back, I watched the POVs. He had the op for I think like 7 or 8 rounds total in the second half. Like he had an insane amount of op uptime, but he only had two op kills in that span. One of them was a worthless exit frag, and the other a no-scope as they were losing the final round. Every other time he took an op shot, it was a swing and a miss, dude. Like, I'm talking easily 12 or 13 straight op missed shots, if my count is correct. Holy fuck. Now, of course, him missing those op shots does not directly correlate to his team losing. It's not just that's not how Counter-Strike works. There's a lot more going on. 3D played a genuinely excellent T-site to manufacture a lot of these bomb takes, but here's the problem. Dust 2 was an op impact map, and when your opper is just missing shots in mid, missing shots in B, missing shots at long A, missing shots on the A bomb site, that means you are losing out on a lot of first kill opportunities that would have put you into 5v4s. And the worst part is those missed shots would oftentimes contribute to rounds where like a mid to B or the B site would be hit directly and Sadson would be forced to save. So you can't even look at his stats and be like, man, Sadson died a lot. No, he saved the op several rounds in a row only to continue to do fuck all with it. Like, I don't know, man. It just looked like Sadson was not comfortable because he wasn't hitting shots early and had such a poor first half. But really, look at the POV in the background. I'm just kind of stitching between all of the missed op shots, and he just looks uncomfortable, just not settled in whatsoever. And so many of these picks that he misses would have been pivotal to the momentum of the round, I'm convinced. So, I don't know. It was just an ugly collapse by Legacy at the end. It allowed 3D to equalize the series at 1-1 heading into Inferno, and probably the biggest knock-on effect of Legacy not winning on Dust 2 is just it allowed 3D to wake up. It allowed them to build a momentum, and now we're heading into just the den, into their favorite map where they want to be on Inferno. They steamrolled Legacy just like Legacy did to them on Nuke, 13-5, and now we're not even just talking about, you know, you missed out on your opportunity to win Dust 2. Now 3D are in the lead. They're threatening to win the championship on Train. So this like downstream effect of Sadson on Dust 2 is actually kind of crazy to think about in retrospect that they didn't get punished for it. Anyways, talking specifically about the game, there are definitely some notes I want to hit on. First off, I really like 3D Max's CT side pistol call. I think this is an insanely ballsy call, but I really like it because I like aggressive Counter-Strike. Out the gate, 3D Max are going to establish dominance. They're going to fucking slam their nuts on the table by smoking the bottom of mid, pushing 3 down Banana, and Gravity down mid with a pair of dualies, and they are just going to sock Legacy in the mouth. Like, what a pace setter to say, no, you don't get to play the T-side pistol round. You don't get to try and have a chance to stake your momentum. This is our map. It's our best map. You are in this fucking cage with us, not the other way around. It's even better in the context that Legacy beat 3D Max on Inferno in the group stage. So it's 3D Max saying that message like, hey, we studied the film. We're not going to let you control this pace. This is our game. Now, admittedly, got a little bit hairy when on the second round of Force Spy, Legacy managed to burst their way into the A bomb site and find themselves in a 4v2 post-plan situation. But hey, whoa, listen, 3D Max, they pulled off the retake. So no harm, no foul? Really though, an excellent retake by Gravity and Body in that situation. Yeah, they're fighting players without helmets and they got the M4s, but the A-side retake is the A-side retake on Inferno. It's just a nightmare at the best of times. And very similar to Nuke, when Legacy would break through for their 3 round wins throughout this half, they were never able to post consecutive rounds. 3D Max always bounced back very strongly, never really feeling like they were on the back foot. Like here in this example, where round 5, Legacy finally break through for the first round win of the match. Lucky, wanting to keep up the aggression, decides to push down mid with not much support from his teammates, and he goes down. And Legacy, taking that man advantage, just work very deliberate trades up into the A site, eventually stranding Body in a 1v3, which he just opts for the obvious save. But 3D Max hold frame. In the next round is going to be a late B hit from Legacy, and Maka and Body are going to do well to repel that attack, taking 3 picks between the two of them. And with Gravity picking up Neeson on the A lurk, it leaves Sadson in a 1v2, which he does a decent job of nearly turning into a round win, but he ends up falling just 1 kill short of it. With 3D Max taking this win on Inferno, we've now reached the most interesting point of this series. We're now at the point where 3D Max have played all of their best maps. We're falling into territory that's a lot more neutral ground for both of these teams, at least in terms of Train. The real big issue for 3D Max at this point is Ancient on the Horizon, which plays very well into Legacy's looser, more aggressive style, but is almost anathema to the way that 3D Max like to play Counter-Strike in their tight, coordinated styles. The reality is, after they conceded that first map on Nuke, they needed to finish the series here. And unfortunately, as amazing as 3D Max's T-sites have been at this event, as much as we've praised them constantly, this was the tipping point. This was where their T-sides finally came up short when they really needed them the most. And the first place I want to start is to look backwards, because having watched how 3D navigate Train against a worse Train team in my opinion in Legacy, I feel pretty confident to say that Liquid fucked up by not just picking Train. It's very clearly a map where 3D are going to be more beatable on than fucking Inferno! Anyways, totally not bitter about it. This T-side from 3D was rough. The big issue, right, is they lost the second round force buy against Legacy, which was a huge blow. Unfortunately, it's not the only egregious anti-eco loss they take in this map, more on that in just a second, but this very clearly stymied their momentum, very similar to the way that Legacy themselves got stumped by 3D own efforts on Inferno in the previous map, honestly. And I really don't know what 3D could have been different to avoid this loss other than, like, be psychic, because they walk headfirst into an A stack. Lotto takes Ivy control, pushes all the way down to T-spawn, catches Exercise throwing the nade, so already your flank's been compromised, and then you just get minced up by the scouts and the 5-7s and the deagles. It's just a terrible look. You walked right into the meat grinder and just got chewed apart. And then I normally don't criticize 3D for their tactics here, but I heavily disagree with this reforce buy. If they'd gone a bomb down and could justify even like one Galil, then I think it makes sense. But taking just 5 Tech 9s and a P250 and no nades, but you're still buying down to $0, that feels ill-advised. Yes, you are on the first stage of loss bonus, so you are still at worst 2 rounds away from your full buy no matter what you do. So I would prefer it to take a save here, get a Galil buy on the round after, and then worst case scenario, if you get the bomb plant, you should be able to get a round after that as well. Instead here, it's a terrible force buy into a full save before you can get any guns on the round, and those 2 rounds in the middle have a just combined like net 0 win probability, whereas if you take the save into the Hackney Galil buy, you have a strong chance of winning that round. Regardless, once we get to the gun rounds, we see a similar pattern as we've covered in some of the previous matches in this grand finals, where T-sides are just not getting consecutive rounds. Even here on round 5, when 3D finally break through, they get a round win on the board. Maka gets a good opener out in T main. He unfortunately goes down to the grenade right after though, so now we're in a 4v4. 3D they reposition. They're going to go for an IV split into B, which is a really fun strat. Exercise breaks them into that space in Ivy. Sadzen gets a pick in the middle of A yard, but the flank into B is already on, and 3D trade their way into the bomb site and a round win. It looks like going into next round that 3D very much wanted to do the same thing, take Ivy control, split to B late. They wait out damn near the entirety of the round before they start making their way into Ivy. Dumal gets a pick because he's pushed up in T main, looking back at Ivy, and then Sadzen, making up for his sins on Dust 2, actually hits 2 consecutive op shots, shout out to him for that, forcing the remaining 3D players into a save. We now enter a weird part of the game in terms of my coverage of it, because 3D do go on a very legit comeback in the second half, but I want to throw a few caveats in. It's CT side Train. It's CT side of Train. This is one of the most CT sided maps in Counter-Strike history. If 3D had won the game or forced it to overtime, I would be more interested in the mechanics of this comeback, but ultimately, considering they do flub it at the end and lose, this is a cosmetic comeback, is it not? Like, it is by, like, definition a cosmetic comeback. Because to me, this is no different than getting blown out on the T side of Nuke and then having a good second half. Like, that's just the expectation. It's just a CT sided map. You're going to win the majority of your rounds, regardless of how poorly the first half went, because it's just made for the CTs to have that intrinsic advantage. And like, there were some damn good plays here, like especially Maka with that op 4K pushing up into Pop Dog, just going right at Legacy. Like, that was awesome. That was exciting. But it doesn't matter because they lost. You know what I'm saying? And it truly was an ugly lost round, because similar to what happened to them at the beginning of the game, it was an anti-eco round, just with Legacy on even worse weapons than they were after the pistol round loss. Like, Legacy have 3 players with body armor only and Tech 9s, 1 player on a Glock and another on a P250. How the fuck do they win this round? Well, I can tell you actually, I can show you in plain fucking detail. It's because of this. Look at this fucking mini-map, dude. Look at where 3D are positioned. They just gave up the entirety of the A bomb site because they spotted presence towards Ivy early on and assumed that the entirety of Legacy were there, not really thinking at all about what could happen if someone lurked out of Pop Dog like Neeson does. So even when Exercise takes a double before going down, leaving a window for the T's to swarm into Ivy, get a second pick up some guns, put it down to a 3v3, because there's literally zero fucking presence on the A site. Neeson was able to creep up all the way to the bomb train and cut off the rotate through Z, and when he snatches a random fucking Tech 9 headshot alongside it, the round is cooked. 3D Max, they played 2 hands off. They gave up 0 space. In a similar round, Legacy were playing Doom out inside of Team Main. Just a stunning mile-wide hole in their defense that 3D Max left behind on a round that they should win 10 out of 10 times. And not only does it cost them the game, I think it cost them the series, because Ancient was an utter fucking blowout. I mean, completely non-competitive. I mean, Legacy won the first 9 straight goddamn rounds. It was like having to walk away from the scene of a suicide, man. 3D Max just shot themselves out of the fucking series. However, that does mean that Legacy go on to win the CS Asia Championships, and what a huge moment for this squad. I talked about this on Twitter a little bit earlier before I started recording this, because Furia also won the Thunderpick World Championships today, which I was watching alongside. Video on that coming soon, don't you worry. And Brazil just won 2 Tier 1, Tier 1.5 titles on the same day. And I don't think that's ever happened. The last time that Brazil was winning championships was with just one lineup. And I made this take before on the channel around the time of the Shanghai Major. And that's that one of my ongoing hot takes is that Brazil would become the second best region in the world and would field multiple top 10 teams. Back then, I really thought that teams like Pain or MIBR were going to spearhead that charge because Bubblesj was looking so good with that system with NQZ and company. And then Insani and Lucauzi, I really like watching them play. And they're both 2 of the best talents in Brazil. So if MIBR could just make some changes, they could really like revolutionize around that. No one really had Legacy on their radar at that time. And Furia were shit. So both of those teams now spearheading that charge, being the definitive front of the pack for this region, is really remarkable. And Legacy definitely get more of a nod in my opinion because they just have less to work with compared to Furia, and of course have not gone international to fill the gaps they couldn't. They're making it work with all 5 Brazilians, and it seems like they're a team that just constantly get better the more they get experience at LANs. They're scrappy, they're fun, they're aggressive, almost sometimes to a fault. Really, the worst part about this team is that Sadzen's just not a great international opper. Everything else about this team is damn exciting. And for Dumao and Lotto, it's their second ever LAN trophy. For the rest of those guys, it's their first one they get to lift. And above all, it must be pretty vindicating for them to go from this like monumental like rise into the zeitgeist, ending Vitality streak at the Austin Major, and then subsequently bombing out, and then not doing much on subsequent appearances afterwards once we got past the player break. So now they won a legit title in a legit field for their level, beating a definitive top 10 team in a best of 5 grand final on LAN in China. Like, that's fucking awesome. That's just a great storyline. For 3D Max, this is going to be the one that got away for sure. You guys oftentimes go to events with other much better teams, so getting to a grand finals was already a rare thing for sure, and you should have won this. It was that opening map on Nuke that ultimately screwed you guys the most, as you could have realistically swept this series 3-0. Instead, that sleeper of a first map meant you were working from behind. You looked great on the maps you are good at, but your map pool is just not as deep as other teams. Train and Ancient betrayed you at the very end. Still a fantastic run all in all. Took care of Liquid in the semifinals, which is a huge upset. 3D Max, they continue to be one of the more exciting teams, one of the more entertaining teams in the top 10. I'm happy for them. This is still a great result, all things considered. Anyways, that's going to be it for me, guys. Make sure you leave a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Help me take care of us by the end of the year. Also, thank you to Skins Monkey for sponsoring this video. Check the top link in the description. Go try on their website. Let them know I sent you their way. Thank you to Skins Monkey. Thank you to my channel members, Justin, Jesse, Furley, Milan Berta, Bubblesj, Dr. Cocktor, Patatas Kaftesi, BTR, B1 Games, Cody Foxworthy, Justin Bad 8. I'm Flashman, Snowy Right, Rowdy, LBKcs, Snax Enjoyer, Crunchyroll, Zerotwocs, drudenae, Chron, Gano, Zyro, Devvrat Singh, and Clyde Mead. If you want to become a channel member, you can link down below. $5 make it even just like this. We'll also got some more community Discord. All men, just save us as LionHeartZ. See us too later.